day, students. This is Mr. Joseph Amon, and I will present to you the exam-based contact classes for Social Science 4, BES, SC22 for 2019. This presentation is for the April exams as well as the August and also the supplementary November exams for 2020. This presentation is also not a scope, but just a guide. The exam covers the entire module, so students should study all units. All the units are equally important. Let's start with Unit 1. Unit 1 is about the rational and pedagogics in social studies. So here we focus, the first point we have here is the curriculum standards for social studies learners. When we talk about social studies, then we obviously know that we are talking here about history as well as geography, these two subjects that are incorporated. So the curriculum standards of history as well as geography should then be stressed in this case. Students should look at both subjects in the different ways. History are not having the same curriculum standards as geography, so here you should stress the importance of these different standards of these two subjects individually. Learner-centered education, LCE. Very important, students. Learner-centered education was introduced in the Namibian education system after the independence in 1990. Here students are reminded that they should focus on the activities. Here we focus on the activities that learners do in class. So learner-centered education is very much important. We should go through it and study it, especially in the adult education as well as the open education systems. Look at some study documentation of NIET. Read it up because it's very important. Here you should concentrate on how learner-centered education has contributed to the success of education since independence. Then another point, next point here is the importance of social studies. Now, this is a general element. Social studies. Why is history important in our syllabus? Why is geography important in our syllabus? Here students should look, for example, in terms of history. Why do we study history? History is of particular importance in certain aspects of our lives. For example, if you look at the culture, culture is part of history and history is part of culture. It should be noted. Culture as part of history is just one aspect. So you should be able to list some aspects that are important in terms of history. Then if you look at geography, importance of geography as part of social studies, here students should also take note of certain things. For example, if I can highlight one thing, importance of geography, we look at terminology. Terminology is just one aspect that is of importance. So you need to look at the terms that are being used in geography and so on. So here, all importance, both subjects are very, very important to study in this case. Then the aims of social studies, aims of history and geography. Although they are both social sciences, there are also differences in the aims of these two subjects. Historical aims, geographical aims. Please make sure that you read up these two aims of the two subjects differently. Let's go to Unit 2, which is about planning and lesson preparation in social studies. This unit is important universally in all exams, whether it's April, August, and supplementary. You will find lesson preparation questions, which is also very, very important. So there will be various topics in every exam. Various topics will be linked to the lesson preparations in every exam. So the lesson preparation is very important. Here we would like to stress that students should be able to compile logical lesson preparations with all the various components. In other words, there should be a proper introduction, there should be lesson objectives, there should be the subject, the body of the lesson, there should be conclusion, and so on. All various steps, including the type of teaching aids that you are going to use, as well as the activities of the teacher and the activities that will be done by the kid in the class. So all the various components need to be there. Unit 3 is about assessment and teaching. Assessment and teaching is going hand in hand. You cannot just teach without assessing a student. So through teaching, there should be assessment. Here we are having types of assessment. There are various types of assessments, and students should study all these and also be able to elaborate on each type of assessment. For example, if we can mention one type, we do have, for example, continuous assessment, which is assessment done by the tutor or the lecturer throughout, during the lesson, after school, and so on. So that is just one type. Please make sure that you read through the various types of assessment. They are all important. Unit 4 is about development of nationalism in Namibia. So here, Students, very important, you should know the terminology here. Nationalism, what does it entail? Define it. But please make sure about the allocation of marks. Sometimes it might be only 3 marks, sometimes it might be more. The next point, the Windhoek Massacre. The Windhoek Massacre is a very important phase in the history of Namibia. So here, students should be able to elaborate from the first day Windhoek Massacre, as it started on the 9th of December, when the activities, the masses started to move, the First Lady started to move until the last on the 10th of December. You need to be able to describe the events as it happened on that day. Very important. Then the role of women during the liberation struggle of Namibia. We know that women played a very important and influential role in the liberation struggle of Namibia. Here we can talk about, we can start about with the old location where women, they took center stage. First day activities started with a group of women. So as from here you need to describe and elaborate, but the focus here must fall on the role of women during the liberation struggle, not just on one occasion, but on various occasions, and you need to elaborate. But once more again, the focus will be on the role of women. Unit 5, features of the South African colonial administration. Here you need to look at the role SWAPO played in liberating Namibia. The role SWAPO played in liberating Namibia is very important. Since the introduction of apartheid in Namibia, we know that SWAPO was the first political party amongst the first political parties that started the process of mobilizing people and starting to fight for the liberation of Namibia. The role of SWAPO inside Namibia, outside Namibia, all the political parties that were collaborating with SWAPO, all the people, the leaders that were spearheading the liberation process. You should mention all the parties, entities, churches, leaders, etc. Unit 6, the role of the church on its way to independence. So the church played a very important role during the pre-independence process. So let's see. The first point here, main criticisms, in the open letter. The open letter was a letter written by the congregation, people of Namibia, church people, to the SA authorities, in which they criticized the SA government. And they had various things they mentioned in this open letter. It was called an open letter because it was open for everyone to read its contents. So you need to focus on the main criticisms that the people put, grievances that they put in this letter. The next point under Unit 6 is the role of the church in the liberation of Namibia. Very important, the church and the churches played a very important role in the liberation of Namibia. So here you need to highlight the various churches, independent churches that were formed, and the leaders. Independent churches as well as the leaders and the people who helped them, because some of the colonial authorities also helped assist the churches in the liberation of Namibia. So here you need to focus on the role of the church and the activities, how they mobilized the people in and assisting them in achieving their goals in liberating Namibia. Unit 7 is about Namibia becoming a republic. First point here, the UN Resolution 435. Through this resolution, it paved the way to freedom for Namibia and its people. So it's very important. What was the UN Resolution 435? When was it introduced? How was it introduced? And what did it bring to the Namibian people? You should know all the features of the UN Resolution 435, the peace plan. The next point here is the features of the Namibian Constitution. The Namibian Constitution is the highest authority in the Republic of Namibia, but it has got different features. Students are advised to make sure that they know all the features and also describe these features. Very important. All the features, you name them, you mention them, and you also describe the role of these features in the Namibian Constitution. Then the branches of government. Our government have got some pillars on which it rests, which is called branches. You need to mention these branches and then also elaborate on each one of these branches. It's very important. In every exam, we need to take note that the branches of the government, the constitution, it will be there. So please make sure that you take note of that. Unit 8 is about the African struggle for independence and economic development. In Africa, we had a struggle for independence. Once we gained independence, we had a struggle, and we are having the struggle for economic development. So here, we are looking at the first point here, and that is the aims of the OAU. Here we should know what is the OAU. Today, it is known as the AU. We know it was formed in Addis Ababa, in Ethiopia. So please make sure, students, that you know the background around the establishment of the OAU. The aims during the establishment of the OAU, which is today known as the African Union, the aims were written down and given to all African countries. So you should study the aims. It's very important. The next point, achievements of the OAU in Africa. When we talk about achievements of the OAU, which is the African Union in Africa, you need to refer to 3 different things here. Here we need to write down, first of all, the successes. All the successes of the African Union in Africa need to be written down in this case or mentioned. Secondly, You should elaborate on the failures of the OAU in Africa. Elaborate on it. And then in the last instance, you need to write a conclusion on what do you think the way forward. Looking at the successes, looking at the failures, what is your conclusion? Then the next point, civil war as an economic crisis in Africa. Here we are focusing on civil war and its impact on the economy of many African countries. There are various things that were caused because of civil war. So here you need to elaborate on the effects of civil war on the economy of African countries. The next point, factors that caused an economic crisis in Africa. Here it's more broad. Here we are looking at many factors that caused an economic crisis in Africa, including the previous point, which is civil war. So here there will be various points, many factors that are bringing down the economy, the development of African countries. You need to list all the factors as well as elaborating on them also. Unit 11, you should focus here. Let's have a look at the points here. First, features of the Namibian ecology. The first point, all features focus on the causes, consequences, and possible solutions. There are various features under Namibian ecology. So the thing here is to focus on all these features and look at the causes of these features as well as the consequences and also the possible solutions. So you need to look at all these elements, causes, consequences, and possible solutions for all these ecological features in Namibia. One of them here, the second point, is bush encroachment. Bush encroachment is also a feature, but here it stands alone. In this case, it's very important that you need to read a little bit wider on a topic, on a feature like bush encroachment. For example, you need to look at the value, what valuable materials Namibia can get from bush encroachment. Nowadays, a lot of debushing is taking place because of bush encroachment, which is not good for farming. So what are the possible good things that we can get out of bush encroachment? Are there some economic material that can be economically used from bush encroachment? Material that can be used in order to give an income to the Namibian population. So students, here you need to read a little bit on bush encroachment. It's an open topic, this one. Water shortages in Namibia. Currently, Namibia is hit by drought due to water shortages in Namibia. This is also a very important topic. Students, it's an open topic. You need to read up ways, for example, look at ways of how we can save water, for example. What kind of ways, what can we do in Namibia in order to save water? Water shortages. How can we fight the shortages of water in Namibia? What can we do? So take your time, read on water shortages, lack of rainfall in Namibia, ways of collecting rainwater, etc., and read it up. Unit 12 is about geomorphology. First topic, weathering. Here you need to define weathering, the topic. Define it first. What is weathering? Number 2, factors affecting weathering. Also, there are various factors in Namibia that are affecting weathering. Make sure that you study those factors that are affecting weathering, as well as the various types of weathering. There are 2 main types of weathering, so please make sure that you read up, differentiate between them, and then also the factors that are affecting weathering in Namibia. Unit 13 is about population geography. What should we know here? Very important. Overpopulation as a definition. What is overpopulation in an area? And also the causes of overpopulation. Definitely, where there are many people in a small area, there must be factors that are attracting people towards this area. What are the causes? What are these factors? The next point, effects of overpopulation on the natural environment. If an environment is overpopulated, what are the consequences? Effects of overpopulation in an environment. Namibia is not yet overpopulated, but in other countries, we've got China, we've got India, other countries are overpopulated. What are the problems that these people are facing in those countries? The next point, shanty towns and squatter settlements. Very important and also very relevant in Namibia, as in Windhoek and in other towns we are having a lot of shanty towns and squatter settlements that are there because of various reasons, like urbanization. And here we should look at shanty towns and squatter settlements at first. Positive reasons. Why is it good to stay in shanty towns? Is it good? What are the possible positive reasons for staying in shanty towns? List them. Then there are also negative reasons for staying in squatter settlements. To stay there is bad, but what reasons can we give here in squatter settlements? What negative effects are these people undergoing as they are staying there? And then also, in the end, see if you can put a conclusion of positive reasons among positive and negative reasons. See whether you can come to a conclusion. and make your own conclusion here. Unit 14, Regional Geography. First point, factors influencing the climate of Namibia as well as the economic growth in Namibia. Very important, economic growth of Namibia is being influenced by various factors. One of them, climate. Lack of rainfall, for example, as we have experienced the past years, drought, just one of the factors that are influencing the economic growth of Namibia. So there are various factors. Another one we can mention is lack of water. If there is no water, there is no life. So there are various factors that are influencing the economic growth of Namibia. Students, please, you need to list all those factors, study them, and you need to elaborate on each one of these factors. That is the end of Social Science 6.